العليم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم ربنا تقبل منا
Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the fantastic, aesthetically pleasing studio at this year's annual Ijtema for Majlis Khuda in the United Kingdom. Joining me, we have the wonderful Takreem Sahab. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We've just had the wonderful scenes from the flag hoisting ceremony, which took place just outside. We are here in the studios here at the Kingsley site for this year's Ijtema. It's wonderful to see the flags going up, and it brings back very fond childhood memories.
Exactly. I was talking to you earlier. We were talking about how ever since as young kids, we've seen the flags at not just Ijtemas but Jalsas as well. Actually, the multitude of countries at Jalsas and Ijtema as well. And actually, I was wondering the history and the meaning behind the flags. In fact, we have something to show you a small piece that we've done about the meaning and significance of the flag hoisting ceremony.
I'm here with Osama to talk about the importance of flags. Osama, why do people give so much importance to flags? What's their significance? We see nations use them and we see flags used everywhere. Why are they so important?
Of course, flags appear to be quite common across all people, all spheres of life. We have great importance of flags within our community that's found in history, which we'll delve into shortly as well.
Yeah.
But if you trace the etymology of flags and the origins, you'll find that early records indicating the flags stem from Egypt.
Right.
And interestingly enough, in the very beginning, they were used more so for decoration purposes.
Okay.
So people just found them to be very beautiful, have the poles up in different colors and all sorts and whatnot, including different kinds of designs. It was only afterwards, during the Roman reign, the Roman Empire, that flags gained a different kind of status and symbol, right? So people served in different capacities, in different factions and military groups and whatnot, where they would use flags to perhaps mark a territory or symbolize some kind of a status, some kind of worth, right? And they carried a lot of valor and a lot of pride that came along with it. And then it was a few centuries after that this purpose extended towards faiths, and different faith groups or denominations, etc., started utilizing the flags to represent themselves as their identity and their faith. And it was actually only as of recently, you mentioned flags, national flags, etc., that it was only a few centuries ago that national flags became a thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't the very initial concept of flags to represent one's nation.
Yeah.
The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi
Sallallahu
wasallam, he had a flag,
Right.
which was representative of
Yeah,
Islam,
of course, yeah.
and it was a black flag, as many would know.
Yeah.
That flag initially was a similar kind of flag that was initially used by the Quraysh tribe
Okay.
in Mecca, which is also a black flag and had different kinds of inscriptions and images, but this black flag was purely black and it
Right.
had no images on it whatsoever. So of course we find from that flags do have relation to Islam, even during peaceful times of Islam, the very pioneering stages, or sometime after, during the time of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he entered Medina and Eid was offered. In the Eidgah there was also a hoisting of a flag.
Oh, right, okay.
And that's something that's found in history in different narrations. Also, we find that there was a flag hoisting at the Hajjatul Wada, so at the very last sermon of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's something that remained within Islam and still remains to this day, and we have the flag of our own community now.
Right, amazing. Flag of the Ahmadiyyat, or the flag of Ahmadiyyat, holds a very intriguing, deep, rich history, because in 1939 it was marked the 50th anniversary of the Jamaat. So we held like a Jubilee event, the Jubilee Jalsa. And in the run-up to the Jalsa, there were like lots of plannings happening throughout that year. And in the Majlis Shura, which is the body of consultation within our Jamaat, there are a few proposals put forward, which they wanted to have a standard flag, a flag created for the Jamaat, which could be hoisted by Hazrat Muslim Maud at the occasion of the Jubilee Jalsa. So Hazrat Muslim Maud, he kind of instructed that the money for the flag to be raised by the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. And there's such a deep significance in that. There's such a deep kind of philosophy or meaning behind that. As you see, normal flags are created by kings. Normal flags are created by kind of political leaders, kind of representing a political cause. But the beauty of having companions of the Promised Messiah, the founder of this Jamaat, to literally become the weavers of this flag, holds so much significance.
So they gathered all the material and they weaved it
Yeah, so
themselves.
the companions, the female companions are the ones who took the cotton and they made it into yarn. And that yarn was then handed back to the male companions who then designed it and they made it into the flag which we see today. When the flag was hoisted on this event, the Jubilee Jalsa, Hazrat Muslim Maud, he took a pledge from everyone. And I will read the words out from this pledge. So he said that, so everyone repeated after him when he said this. The English translation is, I bear witness that I will always continue to strive for the establishment, solidarity and promulgation of Islam and Ahmadiyyat to the best of my ability and understanding. I will present every possible sacrifice through the help of God so that Ahmadiyyat, the true Islam, prevails over every other religion and its flag never falls and, in fact, continues to wave higher than every other flag. Oh Allah, fulfill my prayer. Oh Allah, fulfill my prayer. And oh Allah, fulfill my prayer. And he said this, repeated this, Ameen thumma Ameen 3 times. Putting that into contrast behind what we've just mentioned at the beginning of this discussion on flags, of the historical kind of evolution of flags and how flags were utilized by colonial powers, by military factions. Looking at that and looking at the kind of driving force, the impetus behind why flags were used back in history to mark territory, to kind of as a symbolism of greed, you know, of colonial powers taking over other people's territories, you know, taking over other people's rights, and how a flag was hoisted to show that yes, we own this land now, we own your rights now. That in contrast to this, where a flag is hoisted and it shows how truth is prevailing over falsehood, how the light of God prevails over all other things. And I think if you just keep that in mind, keep that contrast, a stark contrast in mind of how flags have evolved, I think it gives you a really deep insight as to why those emotions were running high on that day. It's because, and especially why they were raising slogans of Allah's greatness.
There is another flag that will be very familiar to.
Yeah, of course, we've just seen it for the flag hoisting ceremony. Yeah, of course.
And that is the Lawai Khadam.
Yeah, the Lawai Khadam.
So you'll be seeing that all 3 days of the Ijtema.
Yeah.
Where did that come about? What was the
so
history behind that?
The Lawai Khadam is fairly similar to the Lawai Ahmadiyyat. So it has the full flag of Lawai Ahmadiyyat in the top left corner. But the difference is that it has 13 black and white stripes, which represent the kind of the ages of within Islam of spiritual ascent and spiritual decline. To a normal person, looking at a flag, it just be like, people might ask, why are there 12 or so people standing outside the flag, rain or shine, protecting the flag, if you will, whether it's 30 degrees, blistering heat, or whether it's raining or snowing or whatever. Why are these people standing there? Why are they standing guard of this flag? But one really, really emotional kind of incident in the history of Islam is during a battle, one of the companions, Hazrat Ja'far bin Abi Talib. So he was given the flag of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. And he was prepared to have his right and left arms decapitated, his limbs decapitated, just to stop that flag from falling down. That's the historical significance which we can see in our own, woven into the fabric of our religion's history.
And the thing is, this was ingrained in their mentality.
Exactly.
The companions of the Holy Prophet
ﷺ.
There wasn't just one incident of such nature where a companion was readily willing to sacrifice one's limbs. But there were multiple instances where companions did the exact same thing. And it's that readiness to sacrifice themselves for the sake of the Jamaat, for the sake of Islam, for the sake of the propagation of Islam, that still lives very, very freely within the Jamaat today. And that's something that we're trying to uphold and preserve. And that's actually the very origin, the very purpose, and the very goal of the flags that we have within the Jamaat.
That was a very insightful look into the history and meaning of the flag hoisting ceremony. In fact, earlier today in the Friday sermon, the khutbah of beloved Hazur, Hazur mentioned the Ijtema taking place, but Hazur also mentioned the importance and significance of prayers. Prayers being the spiritual base of an Ahmadi Muslim and all Muslims and believers across the world.
What Hazur did was marry two really important topics together. He talked about the Ijtema, which obviously means the gathering. And first of all, it's a huge blessing for Hazur to have mentioned the Ijtema. And he mentioned about how the forecasts, he used the word Peshgui, which is the prophecies almost of the weather forecast happening over the next couple of days, looks like quite torrential rain. But he said that I still want everyone to take benefit from this Ijtema. And I think those benefits come in various different kinds. First of all, he talked about how this is a spiritual gathering. And we're talking about the perfect preacher, the example of the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. That's the theme of this year's Ijtema. We'll be talking about this in different ways over the next couple of days during these broadcasts as well. But he also talked about how we as individuals need to take spiritual benefit by engaging in prayer, as you've already mentioned. Him specifically talking, Azul specifically talking about the couple of prayers that he mentioned a few Friday sermons ago as well. But he also talked about taking advantage of the various programs and facilities that are here on the Ijtema site.
Assalamu alaikum. We are here at the site of the National Majlis Qudam Ahmadiyyat Ijtema. And with me, we have Talha Niazi. Assalamu alaikum, Talha. How you doing, man?
Alhamdulillah, man. How are you?
Talha, what is your role here? What are we doing here?
Alhamdulillah, I have the distinct honor and blessing to look after the supply chain and site infrastructure for this year's Ijtema.
Supply chain and infrastructure. That sounds quite heavy. So I imagine there's a lot of stress going on with you right now in terms of, setting everything up. So talk to me about actually, when this started, what day we are at right now, and how long this is going on for. What time period you have to do all of this work?
Yeah, so we have 28 days to do it, start to finish. So I set up 2 event weekends and then the wind up. So today is day 14. We started on the 6th of September at 7 a.m. bright and early, and we were welcomed at 7 a.m. by 3 lorries as well. So it started very, very early.
Wow. And we want to talk about Waqar, right? Waqar is dignity of labor. So to get into that, I want to know what actually is Waqar. What are the blessings of Waqar? Why do we do it? And what do people get out of it?
Yeah, so I mean, on a holistic level, Waqar is anything you do with your hands. Waqar it's while it is a department within Qudam al-Ahmadiyyat, it's almost like a way of life. It's an ethos where the principles of Waqar are to alleviate laziness from the youth and to make the youth not dependent on anyone else. That's what you see with all the volunteers here.
So we always hear the word sacrifice. Sacrifice your time for Waqar. Why is sacrifice so important when doing Waqar?
Sacrifice Waqar is physical. Waqar is very difficult to do unlike other departments. Let's say maybe you can sacrifice your time at home writing a report or doing some work, editing or whatever like that. But Waqar physically requires you to sacrifice your health. To give your health and your time and at times even your money and your wealth for the cause. So that's where the sacrifice is, and with Waqar, it's just about building that humility within you. And that sacrifice has a massive payout. You end up receiving in return of that sacrifice what we have seen countless times, a cloak of protection from Allah Ta'ala. And that's why that sacrifice is here for.
Apart from you mentioned the blessings that we get, what other personal skills or qualities can you attain from doing Waqar and the dignity of labor?
Yeah, of course. I mean, just on that point where one of the biggest examples, our beloved Prophet, the topic of this year's Ijtema, the perfect preacher. He would often, when traveling with a group, while even though being the Prophet of Islam, he would get involved, collecting firewoods, helping the tasks where need be, and where people would say, no, don't get involved. He would say, no, that is my duty. I am part of the traveling party, and that is what Waqar is. You are part of this community, of this brotherhood, and that's what you get out of it. Is that brotherhood? Is that, like I mentioned earlier, a cloak of protection from Allah Ta'ala? But actually, the biggest aspect that you gain is, in the purest sense, brotherhood. We're here now, day 14, day before Ijtema. The pressure's on. The pressure is what makes diamonds. And the boys are working very, very hard right now together. No one's working inside. We're all working together. And come, let's say Sunday after final session, when we start reflecting and talking about the future, that's where the brotherhood, you've spent that time together, and next time we see each other, we're like, oh, do you remember Ijtema, like a couple of months ago, that was that was difficult. And that's love. And and finding a dependency in each other, and you never know who you might meet. I've met some of my closest friends. I've met them through Waqar and Jamaat service. So that's what Waqar can give you. It can give you so much. And any form of service, but obviously speaking specifically about Waqar, you get the physical learning, you get the brotherhood, you get that protection from Allah Ta'ala. It is really an all-around benefit that you can get from giving your time. The biggest skills that you learn, that are transferable, are things like perseverance and being able to adapt. We've planned this. The planning for this started not 3 months ago, about during last year's Ijtema. We already started.
Planning for next year.
Yeah,
already?
we already started. We were picking up points that, Chalo, this didn't work, that didn't work. Let's try to implement that. And then, as the new committee is formed, we hand over our lessons learned.
Yeah.
And if we're part of that committee, if we're blessed to be part of the committee again, we try to implement what we remember. And you have to continue to adapt. And that's a key skill to have in your personal life, in your working life, right? You plan things, they don't go your way. Don't get bogged down by it. Believe that Allah Ta'ala is with you. Allah Ta'ala sees your effort. And inshallah, as long as you try, Allah Ta'ala's protection won't go from you.
No, I love that. And I think you've hit the fact that, there's loads of blessings that Qudam can get from joining in Waqar. Aside from the fact that, you build your personal skills, you can build your CV, as you mentioned, you have transferable skills that can help you in your personal career as well, but most importantly, you get the blessings from Allah and you build camaraderie, the teamwork, the perseverance, the steadfastness to push when, things aren't working.
Truly inspiring there to see the amount of work going in to setting up this wonderful site of Ijtema. And it's actually quite heartwarming to witness the fact that people coming from all different walks of life, coming onto this field and transforming it into this tent city for people belonging to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community to come and benefit from, which is in direct accordance to what Hazur Aqdas Ayyadar Ibn Rasul Aziz has said to us to do today, both on a spiritual level, but also on a physical level as well.
But let's have a look at the other parts of the Ijtema as well.
3 days of spiritual growth. 3 days of competitions. 3 days of brotherhood. The National Ijtema is officially inaugurated with the hoisting of flags and an inspiring opening session. In the afternoon, the atmosphere buzzes with the excitement of competitions as participants engage in a variety of sports activities. Talks are held across the site, offering wisdom and insight.
I mean, Taqreem, having a look at all the highlights of what's going on today. This is the first day. It's always like a half day of Ijtema, and already so much has happened. Again, the sun's setting. If you could see the site around me now, like there's beautiful sun pouring in for various different marquees, and people are walking around holding their jai, going to the bazaar. It's amazing sights. I think an important thing to remember though is as the sun sets on the Ijtema site, activities don't stop. I mean, there's so much going on over the next 2 or 3 days.
Dr. Aziz Hafiz, the director of Humanity First UK, his talk is on his experiences going to Gaza. And, it's a talk we're enjoying the Ijtema. Enjoying is the right word for it right now, but especially for that talk, I'm preparing myself mentally to have a bit of reflection time, to think about what's happening in other parts of the world.
Somebody will be asking you, no doubt, if there's a guide in there, Guide Sahab, aaj ki report kya hai? How many people attended the Ijtema? How many people got fed? How many people got scanned? There's so much data, the report that you have to ask. And our team also have to do the same with our team on the ground. But it's a report that I've never, ever, ever, ever in my life had to ask, despite all your Jamaati experience. And you'd think Qudam India teaches you pretty much everything. There's one question it didn't teach me. I knew everything else to ask. It's a typical humanitarian event. It's nothing different to what we do in Qudam India. How much food, how much pani? The first question I have to ask every day, are you alive? Is everybody else alive?